Join me for the latest reviews and news of the Disney Plus streaming series Star Wars The Mandalorian right here at mandominute.com. Welcome back, marketing chefs. I've got something truly special cooking for you on our storytelling stovetop today. It is the Disney Plus streaming series, The Mandalorian. Chapter 1, The Pilot, up next in the Marketing Kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen, the Marketing Kitchen. Hi, I'm Ron Vining, your host of the Mandalorian Kitchen TV. That's right, I'm going to be reviewing the latest episode of Disney Plus streaming series Star Wars The Mandalorian right here in the Marketing Kitchen. Let's get started with the very first episode. It was Chapter 1, and it was the pilot. There was actually no title to it, it was just that. Let's just get right into this episode. It was directed by Dave Filoni, and it was a story, well, the entire series, by the way. It's written, produced, the showrunner, everything by Jon Favreau. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Jon Favreau, he plays Happy Hogan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He was also the director of The Lion King, Jungle Book, and the very first Iron Man film. He has also, outside of that universe, he has also done a number of movies on his own. One is The Chef. He was in Swingers. I don't know if you guys remember that. He's been in a number of romantic comedies as well. Jon Favreau is a journeyman who is a writer, a producer, a director, an actor, a storyteller. And he loves Star Wars. And in fact, The Mandalorian was a show that he pitched to Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, and she approved the show, and it is the very first original piece of content on Disney Plus. Well, original piece of content in the sense of from the Star Wars universe. And of course, next year we'll be getting the Clone Wars. Season 2 of The Mandalorian is either already in production or about to be, and because it was greenlit. And we'll be getting a number of other series like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Cassian Andor, and really the sky's the limit with the potential of Lucasfilm property on the Disney Plus platform. So I'm really excited about that. And we'll also be getting a number of Marvel series as well, starting, I believe, in later in 2020, 2021, 22. Disney Plus is certainly here to stay, so I'm really excited about the original content that would be there. All right, back to Chapter 1, which was the pilot. We are introduced to the Mandalorian, who is starring Pedro Pascal, and Dave Filoni of the Clone Wars and of Star Wars Rebels fame was the director of this first episode. He's also the one of the executive producers or co-producers of The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau. And for those that don't really know Dave Filoni's background beyond what I just mentioned, he is a protege of George Lucas. If George Lucas is the Jedi Master, then Dave Filoni would have been his Padawan. And Dave is a Jedi Master on his own right now. He deserves a seat on the council. Okay, we are introduced to the character of the Mandalorian. I'm not going to give a blow-by-blow of the episodes in all of these reviews. I've seen other people do that on YouTube. I feel very badly for people around the world who do not have access to Disney Plus, so they're kind of shut out, and they just come to YouTube and they hear people give an exact run-through of the episode. And I think that's really cool. It's a good recap for those that have seen it. Maybe it's great for those that really want to know what happened and haven't had a chance to see it, but that's not what I'm going to do on this channel. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. I'm going to talk about how it ties in perhaps to the greater Star Wars universe, and maybe, you know, some expectations or things that I'm looking for. You can go to, by the way, mandominute.com, and it's just a domain name. I got the link to the playlist for these episodes, and for season 2 and whatever else happens related to The Mandalorian. And maybe when the Clone Wars series comes back in 2020, we'll use Mando Minute as the platform to also talk about anything related to, because we saw in both Star Wars Rebels and in the Clone Wars, a lot of Mandalorian stuff happened there. So we'll see how the final season of the Clone Wars goes, see if we have that content here. All right, anyway, keep getting on my tangents. Oh, by the way, this is an AppFlicks.com review. And for those of you that do not know what AppFlicks is, it's a new entertainment streaming guide platform that I've put together, and I encourage you to check it out at appflickstv.com or just at appflicks.com. So I encourage you to check that out. There's reviews there, there's news, and there's also a platform for auteurs that want to put their own content on there. And in the near future, once everything has been greenlighted and ready to go, I'll be, if you want me to, I'll be utilizing the platform to pitch your content to streaming services like Disney Plus, Netflix, HBO Max, CBS All Access. Sky's the limit. So anyway, that was AppFlicks, so check that out. In this first episode, we see the Mandalorian go through this very sort of Tatooine-like outpost planet, and I've got to say the special effects are surreal. They are, well, we see the Mandalorian ship, and which is quite impressive on this. Actually, sorry, I got ahead of myself. We first see him on an ice planet where he takes his first bounty, and that's where we see his ship. And the ship looks stunning flying in space. Ship looks stunning on this ice world. And the special effects are fantastic. It's being done by a new technology, or a developing technology, called stagecraft. And if any of you have ever played the Unreal video game, I believe by Epic, they created the Unreal Engine. So Lucasfilm has taken the Unreal Engine, and excuse me, Jon Favreau, working on both The Lion King and the Jungle Book, has pretty much perfected this technology. And it is the ability to, for any of you who are Star Trek fans, in particular Star Trek The Next Generation, this technology is almost like a holodeck, and they actually grow. This is really cool stuff. I encourage you to Google and check this out. But they actually are growing crystals, and then they coat a 4D environment with these crystals. And they, utilizing the Unreal Engine, they project the special effects, the scenery, the background, the environment in the studio. And from what I've read, when you walk into it, you are fooled into believing that you are somewhere else. The technology just sounds fantastic. I can already see, since Disney owns Lucasfilm and ILM, I can see the technology being applied in a theme park ride in the very near future. It just sounds really stunning. But for the film industry, this is great. And I've also read that this technology has been deployed in helping with the reshoots for The Rise of Skywalker, because it enables them to not have to go back on location. They can pretty much re-render the environment, the actual physical environment they were in, into this engine, and have it play out around them in a studio. And anyway, I hope that I get the chance to see that firsthand. But on film, it looks great. So this first episode of The Mandalorian takes us to this ice planet, takes us to a Tatooine like outpost, if you will, and then takes us to a third planet, which is also desert-like. I guess there's just a lot of, I guess we're very fortunate on the planet Earth for it to be so green. The Star Wars universe has a lot of desert-like planets. But anyway, they make for good outposts, right? Good hostile other worlds, if you will. So when we are introduced to the Mandalorian sort of pimp, if you will, and this character is portrayed by Carl Weathers from the Rocky universe fame, Apollo Creed. And so what Carl does is that he recruits the Mandalorian to do a job. And so we see, and the Mandalorian did his first bounty to start the episode off. He went to collect his reward, and then Carl Weathers' character gives him his next bounty. This is the most expensive mark that he's got. And so that's to meet with the client. So the Mandalorian is to meet with the client face to face, and this is where the Mandalorian meets up with Werner Herzog. And so a fantastic German actor and director. He's a compelling individual on screen. And so we learned that the Mandalorian, actually, because he's greeted by a number of stormtroopers. And on the way to this meeting, there's so many Easter eggs, from the same type of creature that is Salacious Crumb being roasted up on a barbecue spit, to even the little eye that comes out of the wall, like from Return of the Jedi at Jabba's palace. There's just a lot of things going on around that, some really great Easter eggs that we see. So the Mandalorian goes to meet the client, and the client, there are stormtroopers there. So clearly the client is a former, perhaps a Moff, a performer general, I don't know. He must be an Imperial or associated with the Empire. Remember, the Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So that means the Empire has fallen, but the remnants of it are still quite prevalent. And of course they would be. Because the universe is a large place, and so the New Republic, how are they going to police everywhere? And this is an outpost planet. Anyway, the Mandalorian is, as he goes to greet the client, he's surrounded by stormtroopers. They want him to, he pulls out his weapon, which is fantastic. It's the phased rifle that Boba Fett had in the Disney Star Wars Holiday Special from 1977. So for any of you that have seen that cartoon, that is just a classic weapon, and Jon Favreau has brought that back, and that's just great. I hope that Lego has come out with a Mandalorian figure, but they did sort of a hodgepodge version of this. I'd really love to see that rifle in Lego form. I hope they do that for the next round of Lego Star Wars sets for the Mandalorian. Anyway, in this episode here, he meets surrounded by the stormtroopers. He says he likes those odds. Werner Herzog's character, the client, asks him to lower his weapon. He tells him says he wants the stormtroopers to lower theirs first. He tells the troopers to lower theirs. He lowers his, and the meeting goes on. We then have a character come in. I think it's Dr. Pershing or something, and thanks to others on YouTube, I didn't notice it at first. I noticed it later. There's a logo on his an emblem or patch on his shoulder, which is from Kamino. And for those who aren't familiar with Kamino, that is the water planet where the clone troopers from Attack of the Clones were created. So, interesting. So that was certainly going to play in somewhere in this series, that little Easter egg that's right there. Also, we've been told that the Mandalorian is going to set up the origins of the First Order, and I'm very curious to see how, if you remember, there's a line in The Force Awakens where Kylo Ren and General Hux are barbing with each other about when Finn had defected, about whether there'd be a clone army again, as opposed to General Hux's approach of recruiting and training soldiers from birth. So perhaps there's some setup to that, as has been alluded to, and what I've read about, that we'll be seeing the origins of the First Order in this particular series. Anyway, the Mandalorian is told to that there's this bounty. He's going to pay him in Beskar steel, and that is the armor that Mandalorians make that is the steel that goes into the armor that Mandalorians wear. And so this would be a big prize for the Mandalorian to get this steel. I guess it's quite well sought after, and it's quite strong, very durable. So the Mandalorian accepts. The client says that he understands that bounty hunting is a tricky business, and that, dead or alive. This Dr. Prussian character over there, I'm thinking King of Prussia, New Jersey, right? But this Dr. Persing, I think it is, Persing, he says, no, we need it alive. And so the Mandalorian says that, there was more money if it was alive, lesser money if it was dead. So the Mandalorian goes off to do his thing. And there he goes. So we get to see a ship. He flies off. He then lands to the, excuse me, he then lands on this other planet, which is quite Tatooine-like. And from this planet, he encounters an Ugnaught. And so this Ugnaught character is voiced by Nick Nolte. Sorry for that. Like, huh? So anyway, this character is voiced by Nick Nolte, and this character is quite cool. And he has this catchphrase at the end of each statement that he says. He says, "I have spoken," and so it's just quite powerful. And so Nick Nolte's character, as this Ugnaught, actually helps the Mandalorian out and shows him where his bounty would be at. And the reason why he does this is he says that these people are held up, and they've just been sort of a gang, been sort of messing up the area, and he knows that the Mandalorian will clean things out. So he directs the Mandalorian how to go where he needs to go. He gets there, and he's scoping the place out, and then an IG unit. So it wasn't IG-88, it's actually IG-11, same type of robot that we saw in The Empire Strikes Back as a bounty hunter. We also see that character in the Clone Wars TV series, but we've never seen it in live action before, and it was fantastic just to see him go madhouse. His head spins around, his arms spin, he can fire in every direction. He was great. He takes out half of the town, but he also woke up the town. So anyway, the Mandalorian goes down, and so he explains that he's part of the. That we learn that IG-11 is a bounty hunter. The Mandalorian says that he has a legitimate claim to this as well too. Why don't we work together and split the bounty? IG-11 says fine. IG-11 plays some good comic relief in this particular scene. But anyway, the combination of IG-11 and the Mandalorian give us what we always wanted. Well, anyway, the fanboy in me from 1980, The Empire Strikes Back, always wanted to see the assembly of bounty hunters that Darth Vader had assembled on the Star Destroyer. Always wanted to see them in action together. So we get to see at least two of those similar characters in action together, and they clear out the house. Anyway, they get into the building where their beacon that is leading them to their fob, if you will, is getting them to their bounty, and there's a basket there. And so the basket opens up, and here's the spoiler. If you don't want to know it, even though it's all over the internet, the spoiler is it is a baby, but it's a 50-year-old baby, because this species ages quite slowly. In other words, they live over 900 years. Maybe, I don't know what but in canon anyway, we know that they can get close to 1,000 years old. And so what does this little baby look like? It looks like Master Yoda. So Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, of course from the prequels. So this is a character who appears to be a baby of the same species of Yoda. But is it Yoda? That's the big question. And so that's the big shocker right there. We were told that that the revelation of this character is going to change the Star Wars universe forever. So does that mean that it is Yoda's baby? Or is this a clone of Yoda? Or did the Force reincarnate and bring Yoda back? I don't know. And so there is the pilot, Chapter 1 of The Mandalorian. Oh, and IG-88 is ready to kill the bounty. Sorry, IG-11 is ready to kill the bounty because he was told to take it dead, as opposed to the Mandalorian was told to take it dead or alive. So we hear a gun blast, and the Mandalorian takes out IG-11, and then he takes the child with him, which we will see in episode 2, hopefully. All right, that's it for this particular episode. I appreciate you coming to hear me talk about Chapter 1, which was the pilot of Star Wars Mandalorian. Remember, there's always fresh content simmering on our storytelling stovetop. Always got things cooking in our Omni-Channel oven. So I invite you to come back to our next episode. Remember not to keep Marketing Kitchen TV a secret. We just recently hit 1,000+ subscribers. I want to grow this channel even more. So I invite you to tell your family and friends about our channel, because whatever happens in the Marketing Kitchen should stay in the Marketing Kitchen. I'm Ron Vining, your host of, in this case, the Mandalorian Kitchen TV. I look forward to seeing you here in our next episode.